eventually, because of the mass followership he enjoys, the Kwankwasia movement, he was able to build back, and the 2019 elections was quite interesting. His party then, I think it was APP, was leading until INEC had to do some runoff in some units, which eventually gave the winning to Ganduje for a second term. And that outcome was said to be very controversial, even by international observers. Fast forward to 2023, Kwankwasia left PDP, did not go back to APC, and decided to join a new party, NMPP, and his candidate was declared winner. The current judgment, which was even conducted via Zoom, sent signals that even the judges were afraid of the likely outcome after the pronouncement, and they could not afford to allow the usual court sittings where people were free, lawyers were free to come there and be part of it. So what does that tell us? Looking at the governorship style of Gabriel Yusuf, a number of things that Ganduje did, he has upturned them. A lot of buildings have been demolished, both private and public structures. And then the Gandola issue, where Ganduje was alleged to have collected bribe in dollars, stuffing into his Babariga, that issue has been brought up again, and the Kano State Anti-Corruption Commissioner on it. And Ganduje had to go to court to restrain them from proceeding. So it's a battle for survival outside whatever may be the issues before the court. The major gladiators are fighting for their survival, particularly that Ganduje has been made the national chairman of the APC, and he doesn't have his own seat. So we need to look at the details of that judgment, because from what I've heard so far, I'm yet to see the ruling. It has to do with the narrow margin that decided the victory between Abba Kabir Yusuf and Gawuna. And yes, seeing the kind of judgment we've been hearing, for the tribunal to be able to do calculations or deducting votes here and there to ensure that the petitioner has a good case, it's left to be seen what those details really are. That we don't have any kind of external influence, particularly recall that the tribunal had complained that some persons wanted to influence them, and that was quite controversial. Quite controversial. I think that's the first of its kind within this dispensation for tribunal to cry out of attempts by people to influence their judgment. But be that as it may, from public conversation, it is said that even the people that were likely suspected to be responsible for the allegations are the eventual beneficiaries of the judgment so far. But this is just the first layer. There is the appeal court and the Supreme Court for governorship and even National Assembly cases to get to. So we are going to see the power play continue, because for me, I think it's more of a power play in Kano State than just mere election litigation.
Okay, but the series of judgment, coming out, we've heard a few from the Senate, we've heard some from the House of Reps. The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has made its own judgment, and now Kano. Your own personal opinion, do you think there is confidence in the judiciary? So far, so good with what we have. I'm talking about citizens' confidence. We are not judging the judiciary, but the most important thing is, at least it's important that we know if citizens have confidence in the judiciary.
I'm a patriot. I protect institutions. I don't protect individuals. And where some individuals have been influenced by our current Nigerian factor, we must be able to dissect issues involved, not on the basis of sentiment, not on the basis of, oh, who is involved. The current judgment we've been getting, particularly when you bear in mind that the first major judgment that came out was from the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal.
That's correct.
And that very tribunal, the cases, the issues that made Atiku and Obi and APM to go to court, virtually all the major issues are some of the issues that have been looked at lower levels of either senatorial or House of Reps or governorship. Yes, but when you look at the judgment that was given at the appeal court, which is the petition tribunal for presidential election, you discover that there are more questions than answers based on the judgment, because that judgment has literally dismissed the existence of the Electoral Act and given INEC the supremacy that INEC itself should be able to deny that they don't have such powers. And what do I mean? One of the judgments says that INEC is an independent body and it has the right and the capacity and let me add impunity to decide what mode it wants to conduct elections, transmit results, or what rules it wants to set. That invariably renders the Electoral Act useless.
I quite agree.
And then you go to the issue of 25% in the FCT. The Supreme Court had ruled on that on 2 occasions. We are not going to that now, but it shows you that some judgments at the lower courts are likely to be upturned when they get to even appeal court level and finally to the Supreme Court. So for me, we need to look at the issues. What is or are the petitions? Was there substantial compliance with the Electoral Act? If you are talking about, for instance, the issue of votes, that, oh, the vote was not properly calculated, or somebody that was supposed to sign a result did not sign, INEC had declared a result. So that result was signed out. Anything that would nullify it would have to do with the effect of substantial non-compliance. Now you go, if it has to do with constitutional qualifications, anybody that was not qualified to stand election, it's a constitutional matter. It's not a pre-election matter that we are hearing in some quarters that, oh, the person wasn't qualified. He's supposed to have been a pre-election matter. No, you cannot, at this age in time, talk as if everybody has been charmed by void. And because every environment, the people know their issues. So I expect stakeholders there and the civil society people to discuss outcomes of elections. Are they in line with the Constitution? Are they in conformity with the Electoral Act? If they are not, obviously, no matter the level of the ruling, we have to know that we are in trouble and we must save ourselves. So for me, I want to commend the governor, Abba Kabir Yusuf, and the police in Kano State for declaring 24 hours curfew, because even the court knew that that judgment may be quite sensational and they had to do it via Zoom. And so peace must be kept. And lest I forget, today is International Day of Peace. I want to seize this opportunity to appeal to our fellow countrymen and women, especially our leaders, to please give peace a chance, and that we can never talk about peace where there's no justice.
All right.
Wherever you find people talk about peace without justice, know that you are dealing with terrorists. You are dealing with people who do not have business being where they are, no matter who's involved.
Citizen,
I pray that
yes,
the both parties will not cause a breakdown of peace in Kano State or anywhere, because there's another level of adjudication, which is the appeal court.
Okay.
That Abba Kabro will have to move to, and he will still be in office while doing that.
Okay, Citizen, before we leave Kano, you just said something very crucial, and you said peace without justice is calling for chaos. I quite agree with you.
Exactly.
An ordinary Nigerian will think that if a judgment were an appropriate judgment, there won't be fear of unrest, because the judgment will be the one that will favor majority. So why will there be a judgment and suddenly there is a 24 hours curfew? Does that not raise certain concerns, Citizen? Yes.
Reality denied always comes back to haunt. And there's no two ways. We are all humans. And like I've said, institutions have been corrupted. Judiciary, traditional institution, religious, the political leaders have corrupted the system almost all around. And it takes only courageous judges to do justice and not judgments. And that's why wherever you find judgments, people must rise against judgments to demand for justice. And when they get to the peak of it, where there is no justice at the apex, you now take your case to the Almighty God. We are all Christians and Muslims and some pagans. And government even spend money to send people to go to the Holy Land. They go to Israel, go to Mecca to go and pray. We've heard our leaders telling us to pray for God to intervene on the issue of terrorism in the country because it is beyond them. They have owned that up. But the unfortunate thing I have been saying has to do with the fact that citizens are not as informed as they should be. And justice at every point. Interest is just access to power, not because some. So for now, keep while there's room to advance to look for justice where people feel aggrieved.
Okay, Citizen.
Yes.
Our next major story was the likelihood that because of increase in the price of crude, especially burning light crude, which is the most bought, has increased to $97.17, that there is already pressure that the pump price of fuel might yet again go up. So the issue is, how are we going to get out of this? Because we've been assured by the NNPCL that now that prices of PMS is now subject to forces of demand and supply. I do not understand the economics, but I expect that as a producing nation, when the price of crude increases, it should be to our advantage, and that should also cushion the effects of the price. But here are analysts saying that the prices may go up yet again. I want you to react to this briefly, sir.
Well, you don't need to be an economist or an expert to understand that where market prices rise and you have goods to sell, it should be to make so much money. In fact, we've had that a number of times. We call such monies windfall. Or since the last regime in particular, Buhari's regime, any form of oil windfall becomes oil a curse on the people. Why? Because of the level of corruption in the system. What are these corruption? The corruption is that the crude that is stolen has reduced our normal pumping quota from 1.9 to 2.2 million barrels per day to, at the point, less than 900,000.
True.
The rest, almost 1 million stolen daily. But now that has been checked gradually, we have heard that the thing has gotten
All right, citizen, can you hear me? Okay, if you just tuned in, it's Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television. We might be having some technical hitch there. We'll go on a short break, try and see whether we can rectify it, and then we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
All right, many thanks for staying tuned. If you're just tuned in, it's Political Spectrum. And we have a guest virtually, Citizen MKO, joining us from Uyo virtually. And we were already discussing issues about market forces affecting yet again the price of petrol. What are the implications for the average common man? Is the NNPCL and the government being sincere about the fact that the prices eventually will come down based on the fact that they have subjected it now to market forces? These are some of the questions we hope to provide answers to. But most times what we do is we let you be the judge. All right, Citizen, you're welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, so you can go on.
Yes, I was saying that whenever you find increase in the crude price, for us that have some of the best quality of crude in the world, we are supposed to be very happy that we are going to have oil windfall, where we are likely, like currently they said it's $97.17 per barrel. And I want to believe that the benchmark for our budget may not have been more than 60 naira to 70 naira, 70 dollars per barrel, which invariably means that we are likely going to make between $27 to $40 extra per barrel. That is supposed to be surplus money for us to be able to use to give good leadership and good quality, whatever the citizens would need, and then to have savings. But it's now a curse for us. Why? Because we don't refine the product, and the corruption in the subsidy regime has not been addressed. Secondly, even the amount of crude stolen, we are unable to meet our OPEC quota, which means that some individuals are going to benefit from these more than citizens. Now you come back, how does it affect the petrol price? Independent marketers now buy the products directly at a very exorbitant exchange rate, and by the time they bring down, and they have to pay the landing cost, the freight, the port charges, storage costs, marine insurance, and whatever cost that they call it, which is almost about 25 naira per liter. They need to put that on top. But if they do that, there's no way petroleum product will not sell in Nigeria above 700 naira or thereabout for them to make profit. And we are hearing that government will not allow price increase. And I wonder, where is that coming from? Government said they have hands off that sector, that it is going to be, prices are going to be determined by market forces. So if government is saying we cannot allow it so that marketers make a little profit, it invariably means that the rumors that we are hearing that there is secret subsidy going on may be true. Those are the issues that NLC don't only be talking about palliative and salary award. Look at the issues that have brought us to our knees, and government seems helpless. No idea on what to do. That is even with them privately, or is it in public domain? So you juxtapose that with what one Chinedu Okoronkwo is said to be the IPMAN chairman, is reported, I think, by Guardian.
Okay.
That they think they have oil that will last till December, so the new price may not affect. That is impossible. That very statement should be questioned, because when Mr. President announced on May 29 that fuel subsidy is gone, even NNPC that had imported fuel, even NNPC that had subsidy up till June, immediately announced a new price change. So if we are having this price crisis, who is cushioning the effect? Is government of Nigeria secretly paying subsidy, or do we want to say that federal government is giving waivers on the land cost, which will still mean subsidy? This should be able to interest oil producing states, because whatsoever goes on in the oil sector affects them. And Akwa Ibom State, being the state that's giving the highest amount of crude that gives this country money.
I thought that was Bayelsa. Citizen. I thought Bayelsa had the highest.
No, as we speak now, I have been raising issues for some time now. Nobody, even government has not said anything. Akwa Ibom used to be the highest revenue earner.
Oh, used
Along
to
the
be.
Line, we now hear is Delta. Delta collects more derivation.
Okay, wait. Did you say
So,
Akwa Ibom used to be the highest earner, or
Yes.
used to produce the highest quantity of crude? I thought it was Bayelsa.
But no, it wasn't Bayelsa. As we speak now, Delta earns more than every other Niger Delta states in the sharing of derivation.
Including
And that's based on
River State.
Yes. I think Delta first, River second, or we are third now. I don't understand. There's something wrong somewhere. And those in government should be able to address it. But for me, what is key now is that whatsoever corruption that is going on in the oil sector is affecting the people that are giving this oil for some persons to loot, to mismanage, because what's supposed to be our benefits, we are not getting it. So we should ask the question, is the federal government secretly funding subsidy without our knowledge?
Okay, I feel, citizen, I feel just like you said, we should be open-minded. From time to time, this current administration has said that they have completely, scrapped off subsidy. So let's keep an open, positive mind and hope that whatever it is they've said is what exactly happens. But a little worry, you had analyzed very intelligently what these bureaucratic bottlenecks are. In that report, we also saw the disparity within the naira and the dollar, and the possibility of it rising yet again. What it means is that it's almost impossible for importers of this product to even be able to gain access to forex. Because if you go to the banking institutions, they will tell you it does not exist. They don't have it. They will now send you back to the Bureau de Change and all the other people who have forex. Is there any way out of this, my citizen? Because it's supposed to be getting better. The indications we are having doesn't look like it's getting better.
No, that's why, like you said, let us believe government, let us trust what government is doing. Government needs help. It is those that want to hide something. It is those that want to pretend so that their next deal can strike. They let them make their own before you now rock the boat. That will tell you, don't ask questions, don't prefer possible solutions. I am a solutionist. I'm not just a public affairs analyst. So what's the solution? The solution for me is the low-hanging fruit. First of all, government made a big blunder to have withdrawn first subsidy, be it corruption or whatever, without any measure to address the outcome. That is 1. 2. We are not a productive economy. The greatest thing that drains our foreign exchange is the importation of crude. And I'm sure, I don't know, I've not done research yet, but I just want to postulate that the next aspect will be not just importation of goods, but school fees of children of the rich, children of those in public offices, whose salary will never be able to have their children overseas, but they have their children overseas, and with the current exchange rate, those that are paying $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000 as fees and upkeep for their children overseas will look for dollars wherever it is found to make sure their children remain where they are. And they even want to send even others away because the education sector has been destroyed. Then you go to the industrial sector, manufacturing. Virtually every equipment is imported, and you need foreign exchange. So what's the solution? We must eat what we produce. We must get from central bank the people they had given billions of dollars to, individuals, secretly, who have stocked up these monies outside. Those monies that I'm sure runs to hundreds of billions of dollars now should be repatriated. For us to imagine that NNPC under KRE is giving out, exchanging crude as loan for dollars. I'm sure you heard that.
Yeah, I heard.
That NNPC gave crude to collect $3.5 billion
from
to cushion
Afrexim Bank.
The effect of dollar scarcity. Is NNPC a financial house?
I was wondering myself.
What impunity? Almost every other person has been removed from NNPC. The man that has supervised the importation of adulterated petroleum products that cost almost more to correct and the use and which people lost their vehicles in the process is still there and is doing more things. People are not asking questions until our leaders are ready to step on sacred toes. Mind you, I'm using that word advisedly.
Yes.
Some toes have become sacred. Nobody should be sacred now. It is time to save the country. So some of the billions of dollars in people's private accounts should be taken over by governments to cushion the effects. We must start being productive, and then you will see the change. The confidence of citizens in government and the people in government will be rekindled, and they'll be able to sacrifice, even if it's for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months.
I quite agree with you.
For relief to come.
I quite agree with you, my citizen. But then another question will be the willpower. Of course, we know that the buck stops on the desk of the president. So far, so good. There's been arguments and criticisms back and forth that the only people who seem to have been punished within this 100 days plus administration of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu seem to have been people who have stepped on his own toes while on his way to the presidency. I do not think, or let's put it this way, some people do not think that there's been a major targeted attempt at infiltrating this endemic system of corruption with a bid to dismantling it. People say so far so good. It's young to predict, but so far so good. It's just been some kind of witch hunting. I don't want to start mentioning names. Rashid Bawa is one. Emefiele is two, amongst a few others. Whereas Mele Kyari sits on top of the NNPCL. Mele Kyari, that there were accusations that even while in office, he was paying himself some kind of pensions and gratuity. And he came out to deny. So let's talk about the willpower of the president so far. Do you think there are indications that these corruptions you've mentioned critically will be fought?
I want to disagree partly.
Feel free to disagree.
Yes. Mr. President has showed a level of willpower. What he needs is the support of citizens. And that support would not be from citizens just because citizen MKO, Matthew O'Connor, has been very vocal is just a lone voice. There is that organized body who should take this up as a matter of an emergency to tell Mr. President, thank you very much for appointing Mr. Obazi as the special investigator to probe every government agency that has anything to do with money. And so far,
citizen, you have only buttressed my point. If you are following my argument, the only willpower.
I'm coming somewhere.
No, I'll let you land. The only willpower that people are arguing about seems to be willpower to fight people perceived to have stepped on his toes. It's not me. It's arguments on social media, arguments on mainstream media, arguments all over conventional media. Yes, I agree with you that you started well with the CBN. Why not the NNPCL?
Well, the NNPCL is under probe, but that probe is not to the level that I myself would say, oh God, awesome, I've been waiting for this.
Now you agree with me.
Yes, when you look at the 90s report, 90 says that in the last 1 year, extractive industries, including NNPC, have not remitted their monies to the federation accounts, and that is to the tune of some trillions.
Yes, to the tune of trillions.
9 point something, yeah, trillion, about 9 point something billion dollars, which is about a couple of trillions.
Yes.
And then they have not refuted this. So this is an indictment by itself. And for you to know that there is about some trillions there, and already between the last batch of deputy governors of the central bank, including the acting CBN governor, have been flushed out and allegations made against them, and over 8 trillion has been traced to private accounts. I have been saying, sincerely, if corruption, a state of emergency is declared on corruption, Nigeria is likely to recover nothing less than 100 to 200 trillion naira. If, like people are saying, Tinubu is fighting people that had issues with him, there's no way we'll have the former president still being free. He was at the head of what was going on even against Tinubu as a person and against Nigerians. So, Emefiele was a willing tool, like what some people used to call voluntary slave. He chose to be used, and he felt he was using us. But the bell has tolled, and nobody is making false allegations against him. That is why I hate it when I heard that they were trying to do plea bargain. Let me return X billion, let me go. That would be an insult on us, because those that have died because of the irresponsibility and insensitive mind.
Exactly. How then do they get justice?
People, they will get justice. Their soul will have peace when these people are brought to book.
Exactly.
You don't bring whatever is called plea bargain now. We need to uncover everything. And then we will say, you wait, we'll now declare amnesty for those ones that have not been uncovered. You give them 14 days. Voluntarily return what you have to be able to be excused from prosecution or leniency. We will recover nothing less than between 200 to 400 trillion. This country has been looted blind. Looted blind. And the impunity of the people who feel they have voices. And bad enough, everybody talks about national level. Nobody talks about states. States have been looted blind. The local government does not even exist because that's where they train people to loot. You graduate from there to go to the state or move to the national. Nigeria has been turned to a crime scene, and we cannot afford that. So, Mr. President has to be supported to fight this. Not just be supported, citizens must make demand that, Mr. President, this is our demand over this sector. If we don't get it, it's not good enough. We cannot have those Mr. President call elite of elites. Elite of elites means the looters of looters who have become untouchable.
In your opinion, sir?
Not. No, that's Mr. President's statement, but that's my summary. He said he doesn't want to be like them. Who are the looters, who are the elites of elites, who have plundered the country and have become untouchable, and people are dying? I live among people in a community, you understand?
Okay.
And you see poverty. I get calls, even under my precarious state, I get calls, people looking for very minor help, which I cannot offer. People are dying as we speak.
My citizen, you are not in any precarious state. My citizen that I know is a complete citizen of the Federal Republic. Anyway, I quite understand your position, but I want to quickly, still on this fuel issue, I want to quickly draw in another factor.
I won't even be on air with you.
Okay, I want to draw
be on air with you.
You said? Okay.
I say I am a citizen with extraordinary driver patriotism. Otherwise, I won't be on air with you because of what some very wicked human beings in the state that plunged me in.
Very correct, my citizen. But like I said, I wanted to add a little
rise
bit
above them to make my contribution to society.
Exactly. So I want to add a little to this price issue, and that is we've been following the back and forth between government and NLC, which happens to be the biggest civil society, supposed to be trying to defend the average interest of the common Nigerian. 21 days ultimatum, I think, elapsed yesterday, and they had said no going back. There probably will be some kind of planning towards an industrial action that hope will, well, I don't know whether to use the word hope, but we'll know that it will cripple a significant percentage of the economy and the political economy of Nigeria. So vis-a-vis this pressure on the pump price that may rise, and government saying no, nobody must adjust, whereas there's no effects, there's no way to do business and all that. How do you foresee the next few weeks as we gradually begin to wind down?
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part. What's the question?
Yeah, the question is, with the status of the situation of the nation as we speak, and pressure on the pump price, and the tendency that it might go up, and government forcing marketers to remain on the price it has chosen, vis-a-vis NLC's 21 ultimatum exhausted, I think, about yesterday. How do you see the nation in the next 1-2 weeks? Because NLC has said there is no going back on industrial action. And industrial action implication is that it will yet again cripple a significant percentage of the economy and the political economy of Nigeria. So what do you see in the next 1 week, 2 weeks?
I have shared my thoughts on on NLC's demands. And I still stand by my position that NNPC's demand is not what can bring us out of this quagmire. Their demands has to do with palliative, has to do with salary award, has to do with revamping refinery. Those demands, governments can afford to meet them. CNG buses, and as we speak, gas is more expensive now than petroleum products. So CNG is not even, CNG buses is a no issue now. I want to insist that NLC must get consultants to work with them. The civil society that existed under Jonathan, those people that were at Ojota, the likes of Nobel laureates Wole Soyinka, Pastor Tunde Bakare, and others who Nigerians followed across party lines to say, Jonathan, you can't remove fuel subsidy. Now, they are now talking something else. Some of them have demystified themselves. And citizens just discovered that they must have been grossly overrated before now. Now is the time to save Nigeria. Where are the Save Nigeria crusaders? NLC needs help to put forward the strongest and most people-oriented demands, which is, there's nothing wrong with fuel subsidy. It was a scam in it that was to be killed. But because the scammers are still enjoying their loot and they have changed the style, the administrators in the system are still there. There is nothing, meeting NLC's demands would not solve Nigeria's problem. So NLC must get consultants to tell them what to demand for. Nigerian Governors Forum, or, okay, let me say Nigerian Governors Forum, governors of the South-South, Niger Delta State that produce the oil, must set up their own special think tanks who will tell them what is going on in the oil sector and how much they are losing in terms of derivation, in terms of direct benefits, because of the corruption in the oil sector. Once we are able to address this, there's nothing wrong with government saying, well, we are sorry, we removed fuel subsidy because we wanted to kill the corruption there. We are able to address the corruption there. We are now going to subsidize fuel by this amount because we have surplus money now that we have recovered